Everybody, and thank you very much for coming. Obviously we didn't have to stress about catering for 100 people because some people are late, but there you go, we're all very comfortable, and I'll just hand you over to Don to welcome you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Good afternoon all. Special welcome to our new mayor, Allan Connolly. Our former mayor, Mr. Paul Lake, and Aaron Rule sitting over there. Welcome. And our council people there, Mr. Mark Berriman and Mr. Gabby. Sorry, Gabby. Sorry, been blank. And then our sponsors, one of our major sponsors just came in there, Kevin O'Keefe and Julie O'Keefe. And all the other guests, thank you for coming. And also, thank you to the four ladies that have been playing their hearts out here. Nobody's been listening to them. So, of course we have. Thank you very much. Look, I'm not going to say very much. And all our ex-players, I remember Matty Palmer, Ian Vaughan, I don't know the rest of them. Saka, Brendan, I don't know anyone. Oh, and Ian Davis, our first captain. Sitting right there. And Libby's wife, sitting next to him there. And our only Hall of Shame, Hall of Favour, Tom Shine. And Ray McMahon, our only life member sitting over there. Where's he? Oh, Matty, sorry, mate. I've been sorry, mate. Oh, apologies. Anyway, look, I'm not going to say much more because I'm getting into trouble. So I'll hand it over to Allan, who's been involved with this complex for so long, since '92. So he'll say a few words on that. Allan.
Before I started working on this complex, I used to be able to read something without these, but unfortunately now I can't. But and this is my usual speech, which is written on the back of a scrap of paper. But upon reflection, this is quite a month for the club. It's September 2011, and we've opened this building on the 10th, and what I call the political opening, which was run by Campbelltown Council and all the appropriate people, the most important person being the mayor at the time, Paul Lake, whose name is now enshrined on the plaque. That was just pure accident, of course, Paul, wasn't it? But and then we're now leading to the 24th, which is day one of season 2011-12. And we're not stopping there because on the 30th, next Friday, we've got a golf day as well at Campbelltown Golf Course, which is attracting a lot of interest and a lot of hard work for Todd O'Keefe and his men. But it's a real month to remember. And of course, it was sunny all week, and now it's overcast and cold, which is welcome to a day cricket at Raby, basically. But if somebody ever taps you on the shoulder one evening on a hot summer's night, after you've had far too many sherbets and about to try to get your way home, and says to you, "Gee, wouldn't it be great if we just cut this hill out here and put a few bricks up and we'd have our own clubhouse?" If somebody ever does that to you, finish your beer and run and get out of the way. Because that was in late 2003 and it's now late in 2011, and this is our first day in that building. A little bit of history. That building was going to be, and Grant Newpier reminded me, that was going to be a two-storey building on the same hill that the canteen and which is now the dressing sheds are. And that was a great design, a great idea. Only trouble was, it cost $1.5 million more than the money we had. So council convinced us, Mark Berriman and various other people convinced us that that wasn't quite the right design. So here we are now with 4 separate buildings to this project, but really at the end of the day, an outstanding result. I think you would all agree. But some of the first people that, and this is a time when we must give thanks to some people that have been critical in working this project together, because there were quite a few of them over 8 years. Lots of mayors, 3 local members, about 5 ministers for sport and so forth. But they're key people that belong to our community that really need acknowledgement. In the first meeting in 2003, which was at Wesley's Club, There was a bloke called Mick Shanahan. There's a bloke called Jerry Knights, who's here with us today. There's a bloke called Bruce Collins QC, who was the chairman of the Sydney Cricket Association. There's a bloke called Mike Semsishin, who was a long-time board member of West Leagues and is now retired up the North Coast. And there was myself. Now, all of those guys stayed in some way or another connected to the project all the way through to now. So those people, and some, as I said, some of them are in the room, some of them unfortunately can't make it, all deserve our enormous thanks. I do have missed a couple of people, but we've got some apologies today too, which I think is very, very important to list them, because they're people of note in our history. Shane Lee unfortunately decided to catch a plane to Melbourne on business, and I got his apology about 24 hours ago. Marty Hayward has got a new coaching job and he's not here. Brett Lee, for some reason, wanted to play cricket in India rather than come to Raby, but he did send a personal note to say he couldn't make it. Bruce Collins QC, who you will hear me talk about later on, he's actually lecturing on sport and legal sport in a place called Moscow. Now, I'm not quite sure why you talk about sport and legal in Moscow, but that's where he is. Mike Semsishin apologised, but unfortunately he couldn't make it down. And Graham West, who you'll hear me talk about as well, unfortunately is on business in Wollongong as well. But they're the sorts of level of people that are really interested and excited about the project and really wanted to be here, but unfortunately have to apologise. The first presentation to Council was in 2004. And another person we need to thank is Marty Bullock. He and I worked for probably 6 months on that project before we put it up. It was quite spectacular. It was technology. We were walking people through ghost buildings, the whole box of dice. But unfortunately, when it comes out, it wasn't the building we walked them through. But that was made to council, and a full council, and the people in that room at the time was Paul Tosey, who unfortunately can't be here with us today, Russell Matheson, who's moved on to another form of politics, and Paul Lake. And from that single meeting in 2004, we gained support from council from day one, and that continued all the way through. And I'm sure our name, the Raby Project or whatever, appeared on budgets from that point onwards. Paul could confirm that, of course. But along the way too, we were just in an early stage of our relationship with West Leagues Club at the time, and they were our major sponsor. But through Mike Semsishin and Ray Corkery, they were very generous and continued to supply extra funding just for the Raby project. That's the vision they saw. They accepted that. They knew that we needed to spend money to keep it going, and they provided funding for a further 5 years over and above the very generous funding that they gave to us for just for running the cricket club. And it's quite obvious and it's quite clear that without that funding from West Leagues, we wouldn't have been able to continue the project. We wouldn't have been able to continue to write thousands of sheets of paper, put up presentations, make presentations to government, to council, to Cricket New South Wales and so forth. We dug holes in the ground to see where the rubbish tip used to be. We dug holes in the ground to see where the water was. We did Q&S surveys. Excellent, thank you very much. And you know, they paid all those bills. They reached a point where they said, you've got to complete your funding, but up until that point they paid all those bills. Without that, as a club that finished on a zero balance sheet every year, we wouldn't have been able to do it. So it's enormous thanks to West Leagues. Marty Bullock, I know, is here representing West Leagues somewhere, and they deserve an enormous amount of thanks. They're a great community partner. Around about 2005, 2006, Cricket New South Wales went through their first ever, what would you call it, agreement with the SCG Trust. And out of that agreement, they were given money, capital works money, to put towards development of Premier grade cricket in New South Wales. And that was $5 million out of that agreement, out of the SCG Trust. We were the first district club to receive a grant out of that. That was $500,000, and that is still the largest grant forwarded by Cricket New South Wales to any association anywhere in New South Wales. When Sydney University complete their plans, they'll probably get a matching grant, but it still is, and is the largest one. And that's the sort of faith that Cricket New South Wales, our controlling body, showed in the southwest region of Sydney. And That's special thanks to Bruce Collins, who was on the board at the time. Special thanks to David Gilbert, who always supported the calibre of player and the standard of player that we kept producing out here, and to the chairman at the time, which was Dr. Harry Harramuth. And again, they're not represented here. They came to the Polly's deal on the 10th, and they are, and I can feed back to you that they were enormously impressed and enormously happy with the result that they got out of their $500,000. And this will become, out of that, a real mecca for cricket New South Wales and for cricket in this southwest region. So again, I think they need a round of applause, and thank you. Now at this stage, on a potential, well, we didn't really know what the budget was. I think when we first did the presentation in 2004, I stood up there and I said to the council, look, it'll cost $1 million. That's all we got to find, just $1 million. It's nothing. It'll cost $1 million. Well, by the time we got to building it, they costed it $2.5 million. But that's all right. That was just a minor setback. But at this point in time, we have $500,000. We have the council putting in something like $250,000. That's what they budgeted for. But all of that, right from day one, was conditional on funding coming from either state or federal government. We kept doing presentations to state government. We did 2 or 3 to various ministers of sport and various other people. At one stage we thought we had money. The election came and went, and of course we were disappointed. We did some more presentations. We got hit over the head a few times. We got kicked out the door at Macquarie Street a couple of times. But at the end of the day, there was one bloke who just happened to be our local member for Campbelltown, just happened to be the Minister for Sport at the time, and that was Graham West. And after probably the best part of 5 years of lobbying, we just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and Graham West found $500,000 out of the Department of Sport and Rec department. Now that completed a package of $1.25 million. So basically at that point we're away. Now you would think that you're away and next season we'll be in the building. Well, it took about 2 seasons more. And that's where council, as the project managers, and we now have a 3-way partnership with Cricket New South Wales, with state government, which at the time was Labor, and Campbelltown Council. We have a budget of $1.25 million, and then it's in the hands of council as the project managers. Now, the job that they did at that point in time was outstanding. The job they have done and completed here is outstanding. I've said this to Paul Tosey personally, but his council officers in Mark, Gary, Lou, Wayne Miller, they have done an outstanding job, and they've really done a very professional job. And I'll carry this to you from Cricket New South Wales, who are on that construction committee. Cricket New South Wales has been involved with a lot of local councils in recent years, developing things like Blacktown Olympic Park and other venues, and far and away, the relationship and the professionalism shown by Campbelltown Council was far and away in front of every other organisation they dealt with. And I'm not saying that because they're here and I've got to tell them that and they're having a free feed, but it was absolutely solid and absolutely clear that it was a pleasure to deal with them. We gave them some grief, they gave us some grief, but at the end of the day, the result is here for everybody to see, and it was an outstanding result. And Mark Berryman's here and he led that team, so I think it's a good round of applause for Campbelltown. I'm going to close now because I can smell the food up the back, but really, the people that are here today and some of the people that unfortunately couldn't be here are what everybody here in our club regards as the true members of the Ghost. And this bloke here taking the video has got a register too. So if you're a Ghost member and you haven't got your name on that register, make sure you come and see him. It doesn't matter if you've played 1 game of cricket in under 10s, Aaron, or you've played 500 games of cricket for the Ghost or anybody else. We want cricket people to regard this as their home and regard this as where they're going to be based in the future. What we have now established here is the best cricket complex in New South Wales. It has no peers. It has no peers, and I'll challenge anybody to say different or to establish or show me anything different. But what we also must understand as members of the club and as administrators is it now puts a responsibility on us. It beholds us to use it efficiently and appropriately to promote our game of cricket, to promote the game that we choose as our sport of choice. And that's a fair challenge because cricket is under a fair bit of competition at the moment, and cricket is, I won't put it down or anything, but the participation numbers are flatlining. So the challenges are in front of us, but this is our foot in the ground, this is us in the southwest, and there's no way in the world they're taking it away from us. But we've got to make it our headquarters and grow our game out here so it dominates and continues to dominate cricket in New South Wales. Have a great lunch, and thank you very much for listening.
I'm going to say to the ghosts, please.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you. Enjoy your lunch.
Damo, you ready? How's he gone? He's supposed to be serving you buffet lunch.